this episode, I'm answering your questions on getting members to engage and stay active in the community. Should you be worried if members are only consuming your content? How to get feedback from members and how often you should actually be doing that? Can you start a membership from scratch with no previous experience? And more. This is a good one, so let's get into it. Welcome to the $1 Million Memberships Podcast, where we help entrepreneurs like yourself start, grow, and scale multiple 6- and 7-figure online memberships with simple step-by-step strategies that actually work.
Your life is about to get so good.
Let's dive in. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the $1 Million Memberships Podcast. We are here in our Q&A episode. And if you don't know, if you're new here, welcome, first of all. But the last Monday of every single month, I take all of your questions that have been submitted throughout the month. So I get them through email. You can even leave them on Spotify episodes now, which is amazing. I put a Q&A box on my stories once a week. So lots of you submit them there. And I do actually answer them throughout the week on my Instagram stories as well. But some of them I do save and screenshot for our podcast episodes so I can really get into more depth and detail when answering them. And today is a good one. I'm excited to get into this one. So thank you, those of you who have been submitting your questions. And if you had no idea that you could do this, definitely follow me on Instagram at the Membership Muse. I put that little Q&A on there, like I said, once a week. You can even submit questions to our email at support@paigevandy.com. You can leave questions on our episodes on Spotify. Lots of places to leave your questions, but I love doing these for you guys. So let's get into it because we've got a lot of ground to cover today. The first question is, my members are consuming content but not engaging. Is that actually a problem? This is something that really comes down to actually knowing your membership numbers and knowing what is average for memberships, knowing what numbers you should actually be looking for. And actually, I'm going to answer this question. But before I do, if you go back to episode 34, it's called Stop Spiraling, What Healthy Membership Numbers Really Look Like. This is a prime example of why it's important to know your numbers, because if you have a membership and let's just say you have 100 people inside of your membership, but you only have 10 people who are truly active inside of your community. I mean, those people who are actually engaging, talking to other people. If you have 100 people in your membership, but only like 10 people actively engaging, you could easily look at that and then go, holy shit, my membership sucks. Oh my God, I need to cancel. Oh my God, I need to shut this down. Everyone hates it. Everyone hates me. And it's really easy to spiral. But actually, in the membership world, 10 to 20% of your members are going to be truly active. And that's like regular good numbers for a healthy membership. That means 80 to 90% of your members are actually going to fit more in like the behind the scenes lurker category. This could be people who are consuming content, but just like not actually engaging inside of the community. This could be people who kind of just like pop in every now and then, but for the most part are just very much so the lurkers. So if 10 to 20% of your people are actually in the community, that's considered normal. That's considered healthy. It's actually a really small amount of people in the total overall of all of your members who are going to be really seen by you, right? A lot of people are going to be logging in, watching, listening, maybe even watching the community, seeing what's going on in the community more privately. Only a very small percentage of people are going to actually be posting regularly inside of your community. And that is normal across every high retention membership. Another thing to remember is engagement looks different at different stages. So like when you have someone coming into your membership new, most likely they're going to be engaging more in the beginning of their journey being inside of your membership because that's when they're really needing the most. That's when they're coming in at the very beginning stages of wherever they are starting inside of their journey, right? They're coming into your membership. This is when they need the most direction, the most support. And this is not to say everybody. There are definitely people who are going to engage throughout their whole journey, and that's great. Those are your really active people. But a lot of people will engage more at the beginning and then tend to teeter out. And as they start to get their gripping in, let's just say your course material, or if you do have any sort of material in your membership itself, once they kind of get their bearings, a lot of times they're going to just be executing more privately, and that's okay. So if you have people who are regularly logging in, but they're not in the community, That's okay. They're just quietly implementing, they're executing, they're doing the work. A lot of the times that actually means that they're working and getting things done and doing what they need to do and they're not stuck. So where you actually need to kind of like perk your ears up and what you need to be looking for in terms of red flags is if people just aren't logging in at all. So if they're not in the community, but if they're also not logging into the community at all, that's more so when you want to get some re-engagement strategies and protocols in place. Now, I have an entire episode on retention. I believe it's episode number 14. And in that episode, I talk about what kind of retention strategies, what kind of retention protocols you can have in place if you're finding that people just aren't even logging in, aren't engaging, are just seemingly ghost inside of your community. That is a good episode to listen to. So at the end of the day, you always want to be trying to get your members to engage. You don't want to be aiming for 10% because we want to be elite. We want to make sure that we are doing the absolute best we can inside of our membership. But at the end of the day, 10 to 20% of your members engaged is fantastic. If people are logging in, great. That's awesome. They're using your membership for what they personally need to use it for at that moment. Next question is, how do I keep members active inside of my community? We get some sort of version of this question every single month, which I love, but this also shows me this is one of the number one things people struggle with. So first of all, if you are struggling with this right now, if you have your community and you're really struggling to get people active, engaging inside of the community, and you are listening to this before February 5th, 2026, I am going to plug right now because you are going to find this so helpful. I have a masterclass coming up on how to build a really sticky membership community. I already ran it once and it was so good. I got so many messages afterwards from those who were on the masterclass. I'm continuing to get messages about how much that actually helped. I decided to run it again. So I'm going to be running that on February 5th. 2026. You can just go and find the link in the show notes if you want to register for that. Highly recommend. It's completely free, but it is all on building a really sticky, engaged, active community. And I'm going to answer this question, but also on the masterclass, we get in depth. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I really get into the weeds with some of my best strategies for membership engagement and keeping people really active. So definitely come join us there. But at the end of the day, to keep members active and engaged in the community, it comes down to one core thing, which is having your members engage with each other. Members need to be connected to each other. They need to be talking to each other, feeling like they're part of something, feeling like they're part of a community together. Now, it's kind of a matter of how do you actually do that? So the first thing I suggest is if you're not already really aware of this, be aware of this one thing. Are you intentionally trying to get your members to talk to each other? Are you putting posts inside of your community that encourages people to actually engage with each other? Or are you just posting things inside of your community to get your members to engage with you? You need to make sure that you are getting people to talk to each other, to help each other out, to support one another. The other thing that really helps spark community engagement is having some sort of shared experience inside of your membership that your members can be doing with one another for a limited amount of time. So this could be like a 14-day challenge or a 30-day challenge or an accountability challenge, something where you're getting your members to really take part in something together. And obviously, you might be thinking of this and be like, well, that's kind of the point of the membership, is getting people in a container together. Yes, but if your community is not engaged, then putting something else in place where it's a limited time event where people are going to be together for, say, 14 days, that's going to increase that engagement, that once the challenge ends, that momentum can continue to build and build. And then by doing that, every couple of months inside of your membership, you're starting to really make sure that you're reigniting spark, you're getting people brought into the community. You might see this, say if you go to like a yoga studio or a Pilates studio. A lot of studios will do something like this where it's like a 30-day accountability challenge. Try and get to the studio every single day for 30 days. Right? If you are somebody who is very so-so with your, let's just say, yoga pass, and you really intended to buy a membership to your yoga studio because you intended to go more, but then you're finding that you're really not showing up that much, but then maybe your yoga studio has a 30-day yoga challenge where they challenge you to come to the yoga studio every day for 30 days. If you had been falling off of yoga, but then you see this challenge come up, you might think, oh, okay, I bought this for a reason. They have this challenge going on. I can do 30 days. I haven't been consistent, but I can do 30 days. So then you start going to the yoga studio more and more and more. And then what happens? You actually start to build up a habit around it. You start to build up a routine that even after that challenge is done, you still keep going to the studio because all of a sudden it doesn't feel as hard anymore because you got the momentum there. Now, if your yoga studio had said, okay, show up every single day for the entire year, that's different. That's an overwhelming thing where you might just be like, no, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. But the 30 days, that feels attainable and reachable. It's the exact same thing for your membership. If you are finding that your members are not in your community very often, they're not logging in, they're not showing up, having something that's a limited day event that is only for your membership members to get them to show up every day inside of the membership, that starts to build a habit and a routine. And then those things stick. They continue to show up even after that challenge is over. Doing those periodically inside of your membership can make a really big difference. So really ask yourself, what is some kind of challenge or even just an accountability challenge? It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can literally just be show up to the community every day for 30 days. At the end, someone is walking away with a prize. Don't overthink it. Just make it something where your members are showing up to your community and they're talking to each other. They're engaging with each other. The third thing that you can do is really just making sure that you are modeling the behavior that you want your members to have inside of the community. So if you have a business membership and you really want your community to not just feel like a stuffy business membership, you want it to really feel like a community, a place where people can check into with whatever's going on with their life and their business and their pets and their kids or whatever else. You need to model that first because you can't just expect people to start posting like that. So for you, if you want people to be sharing every aspect of their life, maybe on the weekend you share a picture of this really cool rooftop bar that you went to and you share it with your membership people and say, oh my God, you guys, I just went here. It's in this city. If you're ever around, highly recommend. Like something like that where you are just thinking, how do I want this membership to look? Am I modeling that? And you are likely going to be the primary model of that for that first year of your membership until you start getting other people inside of there, which brings me to my next point is you can bring on people like leaders or ambassadors or affiliates inside of your membership. For $1 Million Memberships Club, which is my monthly membership, we have our MDMC leaders. So our leaders are people who are in the membership. They're membership members. They're people who have really shown up for the membership and are now leaders inside of our community who are there to really help others show up and to support others inside of the community. They get perks of being a leader inside of our membership, but they're really there to also support others, role model how to use the community, and really get more engagement inside the community in general. There's a lot more to it, but in a nutshell, that's kind of it. Also, if you are coming to the How to Build a Sticky AF membership masterclass happening on February 5th, I talk about exactly how to build that inside of your membership as well and more in detail of what having ambassadors, leaders actually looks like. Next question is, what is the best way to go about getting feedback from members and how often should I be doing that? So this one I love to talk about actually because I think this is something people don't do enough. A lot of membership founders will just kind of depend on the community to post in the community if they're liking something or not liking something. People, or even kind of worse, is they just think that if there's no feedback, things must be great. And this is something that if you really want to have the best community in your industry, you want to have the best membership, you want to be a household name, you want it to be a membership that really stands out, that people know about, that you're able to really sign people in consistently because it's just a known membership, you need to be diligent about getting feedback. It just needs to be one of your primary tasks that you have repeated inside of your membership on a regular basis. So actually in that retention episode that I had talked about, I think episode 14, the one that I had talked about earlier, I actually do get more in depth into how to get feedback from your members. But in a nutshell, you at least need to be getting feedback from your members on a quarterly basis and in a actual professional way, not just, hey, everyone post in the community. How are you liking things? Is everything going good for you? And just expecting people to answer that. It has to be something that is actually a little bit more professional, a little bit more routine that happens quarterly. So personally, what we do inside of $1 Million Memberships Club is we do quarterly feedback surveys. So, on these surveys, we're actually asking really in depth questions on all areas of the membership. So, the community, how do you like how the information is laid out? How do you like our course hub? Is there anything you would change? How connected do you feel to our community? Is there anything else that would make this membership a no brainer for you? We are getting into detail with all of the areas of the membership. And we really encourage everyone to fill it out. We even incentivize for this. So, like for instance, the last one that we just did, our incentivization was a CEO gift box. So, personally, just handpicked items that I personally love and use, and that really help our members get into that CEO $1 million mode energy. I put into a gift box and I'm sending it right to their doorstep as a thank you for filling it out. So one person who fills it out will win that. So that incentivizes people to actually take the however many minutes to fill out that survey, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to fill out a survey. Like it's not something that's so fun to do, right? Nobody really wants to do it, but it really helps make your community the best it can possibly be, as long as you're actually reading the results and implementing the feedback. So, making sure that you have something that you're sending out to your members and also that you're incentivizing so that people will actually fill it out, or else people will probably just honestly skip over it. The third piece I will really say about this is making it anonymous is going to be better than having the people actually fill out like their names and their emails and all of that. The reason for this is because when people fill out a survey anonymously, they're more inclined to actually give their true feelings of your membership community. They're more inclined to actually be honest with how they feel. And that can be scary as a membership founder. Like, trust me, I am somebody who, even to this day, and I've been doing feedback forms for a long time, even to this day, when I go and open up feedback forms, I still get nervous, even though I'm very confident in the membership, even though I am always making it the best it can possibly be. There's still that part of me that's just like, I really want this to be amazing. I don't want to hear bad feedback. But at the end of the day, every piece of feedback, good or bad, is actually good, because if there is feedback that is more negative or something you didn't want to read or hear about, it gives you the opportunity to act on it and make sure that your membership is as good as it can possibly be. So for example, I'll even tell you one of the things that we did recently or are doing recently based on our feedback forms. So our feedback forms this quarter were absolutely mind-blowingly so positive, and I was very, very happy for that because of the reason I just told you. I don't want to read negative stuff. They were so good. But the one thing that I read on a couple of forums was that our monthly members wanted access to our more advanced templates sooner. So with $1 Million Memberships Club, if you are an annual member, you get access to our entire membership right away. And if you're a monthly member, you get access to absolutely everything, but the template vault is dripped out. And that's dripped out over, I believe, 8 drips. So over 8 months. Now, the way that $1 Million Memberships Club is set up is we have setup guides and templates all the way from idea to scaling. So to scaling a 7-figure business. However, what people were finding was that if they were coming in and already had a 6-figure membership, but they were coming in as a monthly member, they were having to wait too many months to get information that they were really wanting right from the beginning. Now, this is a tricky situation because we can't release everything all at once to monthly members, because at the end of the day, there's over $10,000 of value inside of $1 Million Memberships Club. We have a lot of value inside of that program. So if I was to release everything and someone was a monthly member, they could essentially take all of everything that we give and then just peace out. And so as a business, you have to look at, okay, how can I meet everyone where they're at as much as possible? How can I give the best experience, but also still protect the business and run the business? Because at the end of the day, we're still a business. And so we did a lot of brainstorming on that. And one thing that we're going to do is we're going to rearrange how things are released. So instead of just releasing all of the beginner and then just releasing all of the next stage and then just releasing all of the next stage and doing it like that, we're actually going to start releasing little bits of each stage with each drop. So you're still going to be getting everything dripped out if you're a monthly member, but now there's a little bit of each category or a little bit of each phase, if that makes sense. So that was something that was really good for us to read because we just weren't in that experience. We didn't know that people were feeling that way until we had the surveys out. Everything else was so unbelievably positive, and I'm very happy about that, but that was the one thing. And so this allows us to be able to look at, okay, this is right. This is what people are feeling. So let's find a way to meet them in the middle. How can we find a way to really make sure that this is the best experience it can be, no matter if our members are starting at 0 or if our members are starting at an already 6-figure membership. So making sure that you are getting feedback from your members at least quarterly, you're doing it in a professional way, and you're making it anonymous so that people will actually give you their true feedback. And then also you might be thinking, well, if it's anonymous, how do I know who wins the incentive or the prize at the end? What we do is at the end of our survey, we have the ending page, and it will just say screenshot the end so that we know that you submitted your survey, and send it to our support email. So people will take that screenshot of just the ending screen. It doesn't have any information, a ticket number or a survey number or anything like that. It's just the end screen. We know that if people are taking that picture, they submitted the survey because it's at the very end. And then they just send that to our support email. And then we just put all of those names into one of those like internet random generator type things. And then that's how we pick our survey winners. Okay, next question is, can I start a membership with no previous clients and starting as a side hustle from scratch? I love this question because I actually think this is something that holds a lot of people back from starting a membership, is just like not having the experience working with people at a different level or capacity. And then I think that just stops a lot of people from actually starting. And here's the thing with that. Is number one, obviously we know everyone has to start somewhere and everyone's start usually looks a little bit messy, but everyone has to start somewhere. That's a cliche, but it's true. The thing that's actually going to kill your success when it comes to memberships or have people not sign up for your membership is not the fact that you haven't had the experience. It's going to come down to your membership itself, if it's something that people are actually going to buy or feel like they need to buy, and how you actually market your membership. So a couple points here. Number one is, if you, let's just say, try and start a membership and you want to keep it really broad because you don't want to leave people out. You want to get the most amount of people possible. So you leave it really broad. You don't really niche down or get specific of who your membership is for. That's going to be a membership that doesn't sell. A lot of people are in the online world right now. And if you are trying to come in brand new with this broad ass membership that doesn't actually speak to anybody, it's just so broad so that you don't leave anybody out, there is no pull to come to your membership. And that is when somebody will actually go to a membership that's a little bit more qualified than yours. Now, let's just say you are in the home interior space. Very random, but we're going to go with that right now. If you have a membership for homeowners wanting to decorate their homes, that's broad. It's niche, but it's pretty broad. You need to really look at what is that thing that you really love? What is something you could talk about forever? What is the specific category inside of that thing that you can talk about forever? So let's just say you are a home interiors person. You love that. That's a pretty specific niche, but it's still not specific enough. What is that one thing that you really go all in on with people, that you love to do with people? Maybe that is helping people redecorate their homes to match a feng shui lifestyle or living. I don't know how to say that, but you know where I'm going with this. That is so much more specific than just a membership for homeowners wanting to decorate their homes. Having a membership for homeowners wanting to go from unorganized, chaotic homes to a feng shui lifestyle, that is such a clear transition. That is such a specific transition. That is such a specific transformation. That is going to sell. It doesn't matter if you have never actually had people or worked with people in a different capacity in that. If you know how to get people that result, that on its own, with you being able to obviously market that and communicate that transition to people, that is going to sell. So that is the first thing, is you just have to be so specific of what your membership is. And if you think it's specific, I challenge you to try and get one level deeper. The thing is too, is people don't join memberships just because they like you. or they follow you, or they think that you are elite at what you do. People join memberships because of a specific problem that they have in their life in that very moment, and they want support around it. They want a community around it. They want a transformation around it. So if you can really meet people where they're at and be able to explain clearly to people that your membership is meant to take them from point A to point C, and that middle piece is your membership. The bridge to get them from A to C is your membership. That's when people will really invest into you. That's when people will invest into your membership. So where are they right now? Where do they want to be? And how specifically will your membership be the bridge to get them there? Now, even taking this further, if your membership is something like, let's just say, going from a really basic way of decorating your house to living feng shui, how specifically are people actually going to get that result inside of your membership? So that's the next piece you have to break down, is looking at, okay, if people come into my membership, how actually are they going to get that transformation? Are we doing calls every month? Are there modules? Is it just a community of people sharing their tips and what works for them? What is actually the process of them getting that transformation? So for you, break that down, write down where they're starting, where they're going, so where the end result is, and then write down what is everything you are going to include inside of your membership to get them there. That needs to be written down and tweaked so that you can, if someone was to come up to you on the street and say, hey, I saw your membership, can you explain to me how exactly I'd actually get results inside of your membership? You would need to be able to list off, yep, we're going to do this, 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 and this. This is how you get results inside of the membership. This is exactly how you go from boring house to feng shui house. So if you can get very specific on your membership, and I'm talking really specific, something that people are actually Googling. People who want a feng shui home are not on Google saying, how do I make my home prettier? Or how do I decorate my home? They're actually saying, how do I use feng shui in my home? Or something very similar to those lines. So get so specific on what it is that your membership is, who it's actually for, and then you need to be able to very clearly articulate that transition. Where are they starting? Where do they want to go? And then how is your membership the bridge? What processes are they actually going to be a part of inside of your membership to get there? It does not matter if you have never had experience. If you can nail these things, you will have a successful membership. That is it for this Q&A episode. I feel like there's a little mixed bag in this one of topics we covered, so I hope something out of here really resonated with you and helped you. And again, if you have any membership questions at all, feel free to find me on Instagram at the Membership Muse and submit them to me there. You can email them into us at support@paigevandy.com. If you listen on Spotify, you can put your questions under this episode. And if you are listening to this before February 5th, 2026, I really encourage you to join us in our live masterclass, teaching you how to build a really sticky, engaged, active community that people show up in, are excited to be in, and never want to leave. Again, it was such a good one last time. I had to run it again. You can head to the first link in the show notes to find that registration link. And who knows, if you are listening to this after February 5th, maybe we're running it again. Head to the registration link and you can see if there's another class coming up soon. Other than that, thank you so much for being here. I love you. I appreciate you. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.